Now, the tasty part, Premier League predictions. Hey, let me move back so you can see this jersey very well. As you can see, Adidas have given us all the drip we need. We're ready to assault the Premier League. And the Premier League starts on Friday. Everybody say hooray! Very exciting news. The defending champions Liverpool get the season underway on Friday, 8 p.m. kickoff against Bournemouth at Anfield. Pretty interesting. But in terms of my predictions, just let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree or what your thoughts are. I know every Nigerian person that watches this podcast likes Premier League. Even if you say you support Barcelona or Real Madrid, they watch Premier League. So let me know your thoughts. Give me your predictions too. Who's going to win the Premier League? What's your top four like? Who's the top goal scorer? Who's getting relegated? How do you expect Nigerian players to perform? Give it to me. Tell me what you think. I really appreciate all the lovely comments. So let me know what go on. So, what do I think? Let me start from relegation candidates. It's always a tricky one, but we've seen a pattern over the past few seasons where all the promoted teams in the past 2 years have gone straight back down just because the gap in quality between the Premier League and the Championship is a bit too big of a bridge to... the gap is a bit too wide to close that gap. And it's why I don't really like any of these so-called Super Eagles players in the Championship, because the difference is clear. So I expect probably Leeds and Burnley to go back down. I would have said all three promoted teams, to be honest, but Sunderland look like they've recruited well, and I really like the signing of Xhaka, Simon Andigra, Habib Diallo, centre mid as well. And they just look like they've tooled well. Even Margui, the striker that left Barcelona and went to Chelsea, he's going on loan to Sunderland. He just may do very well, Adingra may do very well for Sunderland, but it's still a promoted team, so we have to temper expectations. In their place, I do think Brentford may struggle. They're about to lose Johan Visa. They've lost Brian Mbeumo. They've lost their captain, Christian Norgard. They've lost their manager, Thomas Frank. So there's just a lot of unknowns with Brentford right now. Shout out to them for hosting us in the Unity Cup, but I hope it remains a Premier League ground. Frank Onyeka was no new sub in their friendly over the weekend, so I'm still not sure if Frank Onyeka is going to end up playing or staying at Brentford, so that's one to watch for us. But I think they may get relegated. Now, to do my rundown of who I think will finish 7th to 1st, I think 7th this year will be Man United. They've bought a lot of quality players in attack. I'm a big fan of Matheus Cunha, especially. He was my favorite player outside the top 6 leagues last season. I've wanted him at Arsenal. Sesko's coming. The jury's out. Mbeumo bags, man, but let's see how they shape up. Does this mean Bruno Fernandes is going to then play in central midfield? They're unlikely to sign Baleba, so does that mean Bruno Fernandes will start games with Ugarte or Kobe Mainoo or Casemiro? If I was a Man United fan with the 3-4-3, I'll be worried about my central midfield pairing. So that's why the jury's still out. And their centre-backs still leave a lot to be desired. And it also looks like it's Man City that are in for Donnarumma, not Man United. So I think Man U will improve on their... What did they finish last year? Is it 16th or 15th? So 7th is an improvement, but obviously that would mean they will probably play in the Conference League, so watch this space. I think 6th to be Tottenham Hotspur. Thomas Frank is a very good manager. I think last year was a big anomaly in terms of Ange Postecoglou and how rubbish they were in the league. My God, Tottenham scored so many goals. For them to have scored that many goals, they had a positive goal difference and they finished 17th. Literally just above the relegation zone. They lost over 20 Premier League games. That's how bad Tottenham were. They cannot be that bad. Even if you remove injuries, Van de Ven's coming back. Romero looks like he's staying. They've made a few pretty good signings, especially João Palhinha in the center of the park, because Bissouma and Bentancur, none of them really left. They never really hit their potential, especially Bissouma coming from Brighton. They've signed Mohamed Kudus as a right winger. I think Kudus has the potential to explode. Shout out to Ghana. I love Kudus. I think he's the one Ghanaian player in the past 10 years that I wish was a Super Eagle. He's that good. And I expect him to explode. He probably hasn't had to move houses or anything because he's moved from West Ham to Tottenham. But I think he could really shine under Thomas Frank. We also expect them to be better defensively, so that will count for something. And there are rumors that they're in the market to sign Eberechi Eze after James Maddison's injury, and also potentially Savinho from Man City. So I still think their strikers, Solanke, Richarlison, it's not necessarily the best group. Matthias Tell leaves a lot to be desired, but I think Tottenham will go back to where they are. They focused on Europa League last year, so I think Tottenham will finish 6th. 5th, I'm going for Unai Emery's boys, Aston Villa. This one is a bit of a interesting selection just because they've lost Rashford, they've lost Asensio. But the core of their team is still there. Oli Watkins is still there. Yuri Tielemans and Onana in the midfield. They've still got Leon Bailey. Donyell Marlin's playing all right at the moment. So you can still see the offshoots of John McGinn is still in there. They still have a decent defense as well. And of course, they still kept on to Emiliano Martinez. And there's a thing about Unai Emery where if he gets to play in a team consistently and really shape the team in his image, you expect them to do pretty well. I expect Villa to still make one or two moves before the end of the transfer window, so let's watch this space. But I think Villa are my pick to finish fifth after narrowly losing out on a Champions League spot last year. Fourth, I think it'll be Chelsea. Chelsea looked really, really good, especially towards the end of the season. Of course, they won the Conference League with their B squad. And of course, they surprisingly won the Club World Cup, so shout out to them. Even though now all of a sudden everyone say world champions, but he finished fourth. Before Infantino created this money-making machine, nobody was calling anybody world champions. So anyway, we'll see you on the pitch. But I think Chelsea have strengthened well. I mean, my word, they've sold so well. And obviously, in the wings, they've got Esteval, Jamie Gittins is there. They're about to sign Garnacho. They've obviously upgraded attack. João Pedro looks like a fantastic signing that just fits like a glove. They've got Liam Delap as their backup striker now. Cole Palmer looks like he's feeling it after that Club World Cup final performance. Obviously, Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez continue in midfield. I think they've also beefed up their midfield with Andre Santos in there as well. Kusenda from Sporting Lisbon as well. So the main reason why I've put them in fourth is I think their defense still leaves a lot to be desired. At the end of the day, still Cucurella, James. Now that Cowell is injured, probably Hato will play there. Or they may even try and sign another centre-back, and then they've got their Darabios and I've forgotten who else they always Badiashile, people they rotate, and then obviously you have Sanchez in goal. So I'm sorry, that kind of defense cannot win the Prem. So watch this space. I'll say fourth. Third, Manchester City. I mean, don't get me wrong. Anybody from first to third could end up winning the league, in my opinion. I expect Erling Haaland to be back to his exceptional best self, hit at least 30 Premier League goals. I think Tijani Reinders is one of the best, if not the best signing of the summer. Anybody who watched Serie A last year, this guy scored 10 goals and got at least 4 assists from midfield. He's an absolutely fantastic player. He reminds me of Lampard, breaking into the box. Timing is always perfect. He can finish, he could pass, he could score, he could head the ball, and he has heart. That's what I like about Reinders. Ryan Cherky could also explode. We know how good he is, but I'm always interested to see how Mavericks fare when they play for Pep Guardiola. So that's one to monitor, just see if he starts regularly. Will Foden rise again and remind us that he's a footballer? We'll see. Now that Savinho looks like he's on his way out, there's rumors that City may go for Rodrigo. So let's see what happens there. Obviously, Rodri's injured again until September, so that may affect them. But they still have a decent enough defense with Diaz, Josko Gvardiol. They've also signed Ryan Nuri, who's a big differential. I think he could really explode. We know how good he is as an attacking fullback. But would they remain vulnerable in defense? It's likely. We also know that they will likely get Donnarumma, and Ederson may be on his way out to Galatasaray. But Donnarumma's not as good playing the ball out of the back with his feet. So will they regress slightly? The jury's out. Also, we can't forget the monumental loss of Kevin De Bruyne. Yes, you could say his powers were waning, but he's still Kevin De Bruyne, So that's why I say Man City will finish third. Obviously, on my podcast, whether you say buyers or not, I'm not going to predict my team to finish second. So second place will be Liverpool. Champions deservedly so last year. Mohamed Salah was incredible. Van Dijk incredible. The whole team was incredible. However, this year I still think they'll be there or thereabouts. They've signed Florian Wirtz, fantastic player. Ekitike, my word, you see his debut, 4 minutes at Wembley. Fantastic finish. Gakpo's still there. It looks like they'll have to tweak their formation slightly because if they're going to play a 4-2-3-1 with Wirtz as the cam, that changes things from when they were playing Szoboszlai, McAllister, and Gravenberch as their cams. So, as their midfield three. So it's interesting. Will Szoboszlai now drop on the bench like he did on Sunday? It's interesting to see how they fix up. Also, we know with their injuries, I heard they may sign Maguire, so that'll be a good signing. But it must be said, Van Dijk looked like a 34-year-old on Sunday. When you look at the goals Palace scored, So let's see what happens. Kerkesh and Frimpong look pretty good, but will they be too attacking? Will they be able to replace the output that we saw from Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold for the best part of the past 6-7 years? The jury's out. Let's see. So there's a lot to watch out for, but of course they're champions. How will may so continue to rest in peace, the Jota tragedy affect the players psychologically? But I definitely think it's a two-horse race between Arsenal and Liverpool. So my winner is of course Arsenal, the Gunners. I think if you come second 3 times in a row, I'm sorry, you have to finish the job. You can't finish second or lower again. You know, everybody's been crying out that we needed a striker. We've gone to sign Glock 14. You know, I'm really excited about the signing. He scored a great header on the weekend against Athletic Bilbao. They said he cannot head. First goal for Arsenal, header. Fantastic scenes. Now we've got backup for Saka if he should get injured. Nwaneri's going to take another step. So if Odegaard likes to misbehave, we shall see. Midfield, Rice and Mendy already look like a fantastic pairing. And I don't have to tell you how good Arsenal's defense is. Gabriel, Saliba, Mosquera now as a backup, Kiwior as a backup, Timber or White, anyone we like are right back. Calafiori, oh my God. I just hope he can stay fit. What a player. And now we even have Raya and a backup like Kepa. So when you look at Arsenal's squad, the only drawback is still the left wing. Because if we go into the season with Martinelli and Trossard, or forcing this whole Madueke gimmick, look, let me tell you something. Arteta's track record signing attackers is not the best. We signed Willian. It did not work out. We just seen him make some interesting mistakes. He sanctioned the Sterling move last year. What did Sterling do? Nothing. So that whole 52 million for Madueke still leaves a sour taste in my mouth. But look, Madueke, come and shut me up. I hope you shut me up. But now I'm hearing Izzy's Tottenham are interested in Izzy. It's not making me happy. Just come and sign all the Nigerian guys that are playing for Colonizer. We already have Saka. We already have Madueke now. Just go and bring Izzy. Bring all of them. Don't worry. Whoever does not make World Cup squad will comfort them with Premier League medal. So that's the one part I'm trying to see what's going to happen there. If Chelsea's board were in charge of Arsenal, they would have signed Eze by now. They will even be using stats to tell Trossard that he should find his way. And this is my problem with Arsenal. All these gimmicks of family club. My friend, improve that team. No, Trossard, 30 plus, 1 year left on his contract. Let him go. Let him go and get a final payday somewhere. So that's just the one thing. But I do think we will win the league. So looking forward to that. And hold me to my predictions at the end of the season, of course. Who do I think will be the top goal scorer? Erling Haaland, 30 plus goals. Erling Haaland had a bad season last year and scored 23 goals. That's how good he is. So it's going to remind everybody about the jugador he is. Biggest surprise team, I still think Bournemouth. I think last year they surprised people a little bit and people thought it might be a flash in the pan. Yes, they've lost a lot of their defenders, Zabani, Milos Kerkesh and Daniel Huijsen. But I trust Raiola to find a way to regenerate. They'll sign some centre-backs and their attacking forward liners remain the same. They've still got Semenyo, they've still got Justin Kluivert. Evan Nielsen should play a full season this year. And I just think that if people underrate Bournemouth, they're going to be in for a rude shock. I also think Semenyo is going to take another step this year. World Cup year, Ghana are looking good for qualifying. So watch this space. I think Bournemouth will be the biggest surprise team. Biggest surprise player. I already mentioned his name, Tijani Reinders. This is more for people who only watch Premier League. Because if you watch Serie A, you know that there's no surprise about this boy. But I'm telling you, he's going to surprise a lot of people. Especially like the pundits in England who don't watch other leagues. Absolutely superb footballer. I've wanted him at Arsenal. But I can't have everything I wish for in life. You know, the game is the game. What else? Biggest letdown. I think West Ham United are going to struggle. Graham Potter, it just feels like it's not the right fit with West Ham. They've lost Kudus, so they only have Bowen. They've kept Fulkrug as their strikers and Callum Wilson. It just leaves a lot to be desired over there. Like, it's Bowen or nothing. You know, they've signed a really good fullback, though, Diouf. Watch out for him. He's very good. And I think they'll be all right defensively with Kilman and Wan-Bissaka in their backline as well. But something just doesn't seem right over there. Will Paqueta leave? Will Paqueta stay? Who knows? But all shall be revealed. And then finally, best new player. Glock. Glock 14. I like this guy's balls. Took the number 14 shirt. Literally was like all Arsenal. He doesn't have time for frivolities. He read one letter by Odegaard. He said, all I need from you is some assists. I like the way the guy feels, man. And for him to get this opportunity to play for a top club with the chance to win the Premier League and the Champions League at 27, he just sounds to me like a striker that's coming back for blood and is going to take all his chances. So I think Gyökeres will be the best new player. Now, to round up this segment, I just want to touch on the objectives for our Nigerian players in the league, starting with our best player in the Premier League, Ola Aina, in my opinion. Ola Aina just needs to have a good, strong season. Nottingham Forest is going to play in the Europa League, so he'll get to play in Europe. I think it'll be the first time he'll play in Europe, apart from if he made a game when he was playing for Chelsea. So really looking forward to it. Can Nottingham Forest run it back again? In pre-season, they've drawn a lot of games 0-0, which tells me that the defense is going to be just as good, and they've kept their back four the same. Everybody's still there. Nico Williams, Milenkovic, Morello, and I know, and Matsels in goal. The problem is their attack. No goal scored. But at least from a defensive perspective, we expect Nottingham Forest to continue to do the business. And I just want Aina to continue to grow his profile. You know, we've got AFCON coming up. And if we don't make World Cup, he's never going to play in the World Cup again. So he has a lot of incentives for his career right now. So looking forward to seeing how he plays. Taiwo Awoniyi's objective for the season is very simple. Now that he's recovered from his coma and everything, can he just be a useful bit power player for Nottingham Forest? He's not going to bench Chris Wood, but Nottingham Forest have also signed another striker from Brazil, that Botafogo striker. So will Taiwo Awoniyi even remain in Nottingham Forest? I don't know. But can he contribute when he plays? Can he score whenever he gets an opportunity in the League Cup or maybe the Conference League? Because Nottingham Forest has played in the Conference League. Who knows? I think he just needs to stabilize his career. I don't think right now Taiwo Awoniyi should be thinking about Super Eagles or anything like that. He's not going to make it to the squad. But who am I? I don't know. December is still far. But I think he just needs to get quality minutes and show his talent whenever he gets the opportunity. As for the Fulham boys, Alex Iwobi had his best season ever in the Prem last year. He scored 9 goals and got 6 assists, 15 goal contributions for a Fulham side that were pretty good mid-table. I think this year, can Iwobi take that next step? He's 29 years old now, so he's definitely in his prime now. Can he do a 10-10 season? If he could score 9 goals, can he make it 10? Can he get a few more assists? Fulham, it must be said, have not really strengthened their team. So we're still working with the same tools in terms of Raul Jimenez, Rodrigo Muniz, Harry Wilson, you know. But I think there's something in Iwobi and how settled he is and comfortable he is in his own skin that I think he's primed for a very, very good season as well. We also remember how Nigerians who don't watch football unfairly blamed him for AFCON final. You people need to relax. Same way the last AFCON, he got red card. Let me tell you, Alex Iwobi's come back for blood, man. And let me tell you, Alex Iwobi is still a very, 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 very important player for Nigeria. Nobody has more caps for Nigeria in that squad. None. He will soon get 100 caps in the next year or two. Alex Iwobi. Fantastic. So that's what I want to see. Can he do a 10-10 season? That'll be fantastic to see. As for his club teammate and our best defender in the Super Eagles, at least centre-backs, Bassey. Bassey was named Fulham Player of the Season last year. Fantastic performance for him. You know, and he just looked like the king of the defense. Let's put it that way. So what I want from Bassey this year is to just continue to raise his game. Can he now play so well this season that he's considered in the upper echelons of centre-backs in the Premier League? That's the next goal for Bassey. Can he do it? I'm literally going to a World Cup year and AFCON knowing that he's probably one of, if not the best defender at AFCON. You know, obviously, I'm sure there's other countries with great centre-backs, but we know how important Bassey is for Nigeria. So I want to see if he can take that next step and really be considered the upper echelon centre-back in the Premier League. And then finally, I wanted to mention a Nigerian footballer called Ahmed Abdullahi. I was doing some research yesterday and I came across him. And I was very pleasantly surprised. So, Ahmed Abdullahi right now is a player who plays for Sunderland. Very interesting story. 21 years old, just turned 21. He literally is on Sunderland's books, and I had no idea. He's played in Nigeria in the 20s enough times, and he made the move to Ghent, where he was signed from Ghent in Belgium. Now, because of his age, a lot of last season, he played for their junior side who are called John Ghent. He scored 21 goals in 28 games in the 2024 season. And then last season, he played some more games for this team in Belgium. However, right now, he's back on the books of Sunderland. He's a centre forward. And what actually interests me, his agent is the same agent as Bukayo Saka, Joe Aribo, Nathan Tella, And basically, a lot of the elite players you see playing in England, Jamie Gittins, Romeo Lavia, Jadon Sancho, Alex Iwobi, Ola Aina, Folari Balogu, Nketiah, Terry Murphy, all of them are on the books of Elite Project Group. So the fact that Ahmed Abdullahi is on their books tells me that he's a serious player to look out for. And he's a centre forward and his record looks pretty decent. You know, even last season, 21 goals in 38 games. And this was now even like the second or third division in Belgium. So look out for him. I'm not sure if he will play for Sunderland. Maybe they may loan him again, but he's one to watch. And if he gets minutes for Sunderland, of course, we'll be sure to report on that. And then finally, Frank Onyeka. I'm still not sure if Frank Onyeka will end up staying at Brentford and if he'll play. It's not a good sign when you're playing your last friendly before the season starts and you don't even get any minutes. That tells me that Keith Andrews is not necessarily looking at you. But what can you do, Frank Onyeka? We've seen how well you can play for Nigeria, but what's happening right now does not translate with football. We need as many players in the Premier League as possible. We've lost the Leicester boys. You know, we've lost a lot of Nigerian players playing in Premier League. Even the Southampton boys that were useless last year. So right now, we have a total of 6 Nigerian footballers in the Premier League books. Obviously, we have the dual nationals that have not declared for us. But I think that number needs to go up. That's not good enough. We have a few too many in the championship. Osai Samuel, Semi Ajayi, even Iheanacho, all these guys. No, Iheanacho's at Sevilla. Forgive me. Slip of the tongue. But anyway, those are the Nigerian players and what we expect for them in the Premier League this season.